Hey everyone, welcome again to my channel. My name is Arun Thukral. I'm a life and a leadership coach, and today what we are going to learn is something more questions on Gallup. It's been almost now 3 years that I have been giving a lot of insights about interview preparation and also very specifically to those guys who are preparing for Gallup interview. And while I was scrolling my LinkedIn, I just came across one gentleman and he mentioned few questions, and he was very keen that if I can do some introspection in that, and I can also give some insights that what could be the potential answer. So it prompted me to really work on it. So I've written these questions here on my chit, which I'm going to answer it one by one. So it's gonna be a short video, but the idea is not just the answers. As I always say, you have to customize it based on your need. But more importantly, what you have to understand the process of Gallup. So I'll quickly brush up the idea of Gallup. Gallup wants to understand why you did something, how you did something. That means something that has happened in the past, which means you have to give examples relevant to the questions that has been asked to you. Number two, a very critical point that very important when you are answering is don't use three words, that is but, however, and if. If you use these words, it shows that you are right and the other person is wrong. And secondly, this answer also, by using these words, communicates that you are answering something in futuristic form, whereas Gallup wants to know the past. So I hope these two important tips would have really opened your mind to think about it. Now let's take some questions and understand that what they really want to know. Number one question that has been written by that gentleman is, do you consider yourself resourceful? Now let's understand the question first, and then we'll go into the depth of the answer. The question is that do you consider yourself resourceful, which means that are you a person who has a lot of idea how to utilize resources and get things done? Resourceful. Can you get things done? Do you know where, what, and who of your business and your work area exist? And if that happens, then how you can communicate back to them? So the question was, do you consider yourself resourceful? Now these questions are first to be attempted with the mindset whether it is yes or no, as the question is a closed question. Do you consider yourself resourceful? So the answer, of course, we are applying for a role where you are expected to work as a part of the management or as a frontline executive. You have to be resourceful. So the simple answer is yes, a very firm yes, and it should not come into a lot of thinking here and there. You can take a 3-second pause and then you can say yes, very much, which means you authenticate that you are resourceful. Now, it depends how your sequencing of questions are taking place. You can give an example, and if the questions are just a new or a fresh which has come, you can then pass it on to the next question. So we will go back later what example we can connect it. Let's take a second question. On a scale of 1 to 5, how generous you are? Now again, a very tricky question. How generous you are on a scale of 1 to 5. Now answering something a 5 will definitely stamp that you are a very generous person. Now think about it. What type of personality generous people have? They are very kind, they are very helpful, they are very well connected to a lot of people. Though it has a very positive impact, but it also has a negative impact that people might take you for granted. People might give you any excuse and they can walk away, which also talks about that you are very empathetic in nature. So high empathy also brings the second part, that people can take you for granted. But having said that, again, you have to understand what type of role you are in, what type of interview you are giving, at what role and what level you are giving. But from my perspective, my answer to that would be on a scale of 1 to 5, yes, I am, and either I'll give 4 or I'll give 5. If that is my nature. As I said, you have to connect the dots with respect to your own perspective. Now I'll help you to connect the previous question to this question. The previous question was, that do you consider yourself resourceful? And the second question is how generous you are. Now, if you connect these two questions together, you will realize that if I am generous by nature, that means if I have got high empathetic ratio, that means I connect with people very well. And if I am able to connect very well with people, there is a likelihood I am also resourceful. Now, this is what will connect the previous question to this question. Now, let's look at the next part, and the next question is, describe your greatest accomplishment. Now, they are talking about accomplishment, and a lot of people make a mistake, a very minor mistake. They misunderstand the question. So, for example, I remember one of the gentlemen answered a question something like this on accomplishment, that I bought a new house. And there is another one who got recently married, and he said that I got recently married. Now, I'm sure they are very, very important accomplishments for any human being. Getting married, buying a house, buying a car, or something else, something relative to your personal need. But please understand, this is your professional interview. This is not your personal interview. So you have to understand that what role you are applying, what is the professionalism you need to bring in, and accordingly you have to speak your answer. So on a scale of 1, describe your greatest accomplishment. So your accomplishment could be with respect to reward, award, recognition, and something that you have done significant. Some significant, use the word significant, which has been like the turning point of your career. Something that you have done so great that you have shaken the business environment of the organization by either getting a customer to your side, or by creating a process that has turned around to high profitability, or you finished a project at a shorter period of time. So when it comes to your greatest accomplishment, you have to think about an example of any of these factors and then correlate it. Now go back to my first statement that I said, and when I started, talk about your past, how well you are connected, because you are giving an example that has happened in the past. Now, one important factor that I would like to add here is that when you are talking about your accomplishment, it can never happen on your own. You would have taken some help or support or guidance from your superiors, peers, or people around you who could be of great help. Now, if you have got an accomplishment, you can correlate it with the first two questions. Are you resourceful, or do you consider yourself resourceful? Or on a scale of 1 to 5, how generous you are. If these answers are high and your accomplishments are high, it connects to each other that you are a person who is very well connected. Can you understand now one important competency that Gallup people are mapping on the background? That is emotional intelligence. Your level of empathy, your level of anxiety that you manage. How impulsive are you, or how stable are you? You will come to know from these questions. The next question that he has mentioned is, are you smarter than most other people? That's a very tricky question. If you say yes, you are trying to show that you are really smarter than anybody, you are way ahead of others. Or if you say no, I am not, that means you could be sounding as a very average person. So it's a very, very tricky question. Now imagine how to handle the question like this. Are you smarter than most other people? If it comes to me, I will definitely say yes. Now imagine the questions. The first was, do you consider yourself resourceful? Yes. Are you smarter than most other people? It's a closed question. So answer would be either yes or no. There is nothing in between. So the first is yes. Now you have to give some justification in terms of an example, not in terms of if this situation happened, but when that happened. If you use if and but, again you are gone. Gallup will reject you, or you will not get the good scores if not rejected. So are you smarter than the other people? Yes, I'm smarter than the other people, because I believe that I am working very hard on myself in building my skills with respect to empathy, high performance, and that's why in the last 4 years I have been performing consistently with higher ratings in my appraisal. And that gives an indicator that I am smarter, because I know how to achieve my goals, I also understand that in order to achieve goals, you have to build your skills to the next level, for which I am continuously in preparation. Hope this gives you some more fair idea. And let's take the last question. Do you handle tense situation well? Provide an example. Now they have very specifically said provide an example. But if we go back to the question, do you handle tense situation well? Again, it's a close question. Do you? So answer could be yes or no. So of course, for you, any role, if you are not able to handle tense situations, it would be difficult. So answer will be yes. Now you have to give an example. Now when you give an example, I want you to think a little bit deeper and go back to the first 4 questions that I narrated. Do you consider yourself resourceful? How generous you are? Describe your greatest accomplishment and smarter person. Now if you have got that thing in you with respect to empathy, anxiousness, handling situations, liking people, building relationship with people, you would see that you will be able to generate an example that can talk about how anxious or how you handle tense situation very well. So you have to think about the method of STAR. You have to go for a situation, task, action and the results. So think about a situation which was very tense, where everybody was thinking what will happen next and people were clueless, and at that time, because of your experience or because of your virtue of taking risk, you took the lead by taking a step in solving that particular situation or a problem. Maybe you may not have achieved 100% results, but you took the direction that gave a new learning to the entire team. Now, there could be numerous examples that you can bring out, I'm sure, with your experience. Well, to sum it up, if I have to say, Gallup, I really enjoy answering the questions because it gives you a lot of insight about the personality that you carry, and that is why they have got 100 plus questions, and each question has a meaning to, deeper meaning to the job that is required, the job description that is given to people. Having said that, understanding your job description, understanding your strengths, understanding your achievements, understanding your core result areas and your functional competencies, if you sum it up together in the very proper way, you would be able to answer any question from Gallup. So think about it, and if you would like to know more, don't forget to write me back on my email ID arun.thukral@hcnconnect.in, and I'll be very happy to revert back to you. Thanks a lot. Thanks for watching me, and don't forget to like and subscribe this channel or share this content with many of your friends who might need this help. Thanks a lot.